The Uruguayan Workers' Union called a 24-hour general strike against the model of inequality and labor insecurity under Lacalle Pou's government. The presidents of Russia and China, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, held a bilateral meeting within the framework of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. In Iraq, the holy city of Karbala welcomes millions of Shiite Muslim worshippers ahead of the Urban Pilgrimage, one of the world's largest religious gatherings. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. The Uruguayan Workers' Central estimated that more than 1 million workers adhered to the general strike against the economic model of Luis Lacalle Pou. Our correspondent in Montevideo, Mateo Grile, with the details.
Uruguayan workers called a new 24-hour general strike under the slogan against the model of inequality. The strike was widely observed, both in Montevideo and in the whole country. Public offices did not open, workers of construction companies and private industries also stopped. There was a great support by big companies, and there was no transportation except for the emergencies. According to the Workers' Central, more than 1 million workers adhered to the measure.
We estimate that they are participating in this 24-hour general strike by voluntary adhering. This is an aspect that we believe it is very important to underline. Much more than 1 million Easterners, much more than 1 million Uruguayans.
The action taken by the workers had a broad platform of demands. The main demands were for an increase in salaries, pensions, retirement pensions, and the national minimum wage. They also rejected the security reform project being discussed by the government, which among its main points is to increase the retirement age and also probably the decrease in average pensions and retirement pensions. The workers also demanded greater investment in education and demonstrated against impunity and in defense of human rights.
For us, who have been in contact all morning today with other branches of the PTNT and also through the media about how this is being carried out throughout the country, we would like to say and reaffirm that up to now we have been in contact with other branches of the PTNT. To say and reaffirm that up to this moment the adhesion to this general strike is overwhelming. This is not by chance, no. This is because this platform that costs so much to build among all of us is a great umbrella where many of us see ourselves reflected there.
Unions such as the Bank Employees Union, which are in conflict with the country's private banks, organize propaganda activities to raise awareness among the population. Among them was the placement of stalls in different points of the capital city, explaining the measure and the different union demands.
Today we carried out activities in the area of Plaza Serengni, where we went around more than 100 blocks delivering the letter to the people, and the neighbors were receptive to our arrival at their homes. And now we are here in the framework of a general strike in defense of the jobs, with the particular situation we have in this case with the private banks due to the dismissal of the 3 colleagues from the city, and obviously the whole trade union movement supporting us side by side in each and every one of these instances.
The workers reaffirmed that after these strong expressions of support, the government must listen and call for a dialogue to ensure that workers recover their lost wages and Uruguayans do not continue to lose purchasing power, so that the gap between those who accumulate millions of dollars in wealth and those who generate it and receive less and less income does not continue to widen.
Mateo Grile, TeleSUR, Montevideo, Uruguay.
Now we move on to other topics. In Honduras, several civic events were held to commemorate the 201st anniversary of the independence of Central America. The festivities began with the participation of the president, Xiomara Castro, with a short shout of independence that it's customary to give the flag of the celebrations to the homeland. With the sound of the 7 cannon shots from the Juana Lainez Hill and the singing of the national anthem, began the tribute to the homeland and the hoisting of the Honduran flag. Thousands of schools in the capital celebrated this day with traditional parades in the National Stadium, Shelat Oakles, and where the president took the opportunity to highlight the leadership of the Honduran patriot General José Francisco Morazán and his tireless struggle for the unity of Central America.
Two centuries after the proclamation of independence, I dedicate with revolutionary conscience and love for our homeland this commemoration to General Francisco Morazán Quesada, the revolutionary defender of our homeland, politician, president of the Central America Federation who fought tirelessly for the unity of Central America.
In the framework of the Independence Day of Central America, political leaders of Honduras expressed their support to the popular struggles and government policies in defense of the dispossessed.
The first anniversary of national independence with a new government, a government of solidarity, a government that comes from the heart of the people, from a struggle that we fought for 12 years, which began in the streets, and today this government is a reality. Now our duty is to respond to the interests of the people. We have worked during these months on some specific strategies to favor the great majorities, and today we commemorate one more anniversary of the independence. This September the 15th, we are celebrating a true emancipation of the homeland. We are with a new government, a social democratic government, a totally different cut in terms of state policy, a president open to the citizens. And in that sense, what we are finding is that we are beginning to refound the homeland. Therefore, this September the 15th, the expectation is to venerate our heroes, to venerate our martyrs of the resistance who have fallen in the defense of the homeland.
On Thursday, Mexico celebrated the 212th anniversary of Independence Day. As tradition, the celebrations took place during the night of September 15th in memory of priest Miguel Hidalgo, who called Mexicans to rise up in arms against the Spanish colonial power. The heads of the executive branch at the different levels of government, municipal and regional presidents, governors, carried a national flag and addressed the citizens in local squares. President López Obrador offered the cry for independence speech to all his fellow nationals. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. In Haiti, the social crisis deepens due to the increase in fuel prices, which generated intense protests and acts of vandalism in several cities of the country. In the middle of the anti-governmental protests on Thursday, the demonstrators demand the government to revert the measure to increase the prices of oil derivatives. After 3 days of demonstrations, the Haitian population demands the immediate departure of the Premier Ariel Henry. The embassies of France, Spain, Canada and Mexico announced the temporary closure of their embassies in Haiti due to the violence that has resulted in looting, kidnappings and clashes between armed gangs. On Thursday, the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, held a meeting with several Caribbean leaders in Washington. The meeting, held at Blair House, the official residence for guests in the U.S. government, was attended by the heads of state of the Dominican Republic, Luis Abinader, the President of Suriname, Shan Toki, Irfan Ali of Guyana, Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, and Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago. The issues discussed during the meeting were related to the climate crisis, food security, and finance. In the United States, the governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott, sent 2 buses with thousands of migrants to the residence of Vice President Kamala Harris in the country's capital. Close to 100 Latin American migrants were transported to the residence of the U.S. Vice President in Washington. The move comes in response to the decision of the Joe Biden's administration to relocate migrants to so-called sanctuary jurisdictions, such as Washington, New York, and Chicago, as a solution to manage the border crisis. Abbott previously sent dozens of buses with migrants to Washington, D.C., New York, and Chicago, where his Florida counterpart, Ron DeSantis, with similar arguments, sent 2 planes with migrants to an island in the state of Massachusetts in the north of the country. We now address other topics. The first Science Expo with Iran was held in Venezuela, intended to promote commercial exchange between both countries. The event was attended by a delegation of 174 people, led by the president of the Center for International Cooperation in Science and Technology of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mahdi Galenovi. Authorities emphasized the importance of the event, since companies and institutions of high technological level will be present to allow the exchange of knowledge on science and technology. Likewise, the Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro, stated that Iran is one of the emerging powers of the 21st century. On Thursday, the first group of the detained TeleSUR airliner's crew left Argentina and headed to their homeland. The first group will arrive on Venezuelan soil on Friday, September 16th, after a stopover in Bolivia. Those released are part of the Boeing 747 crew owned by Venezuela, which has been illegally detained in Argentina by a U.S. court order since June 8th. In Argentina, Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner spoke for the first time about the attack she suffered on September 1st. The Vice President's statements were made in the framework of a meeting she held with members of different religious spaces, which took place on Thursday at the National Congress. She also said that the day after the attack, she received a call from Pope Francis. In any case, the Vice President said she did not want to use this meeting to talk about the attack, but about the social and economic situation the country is going through. In the same context, the Vice President declared that the assassination attempt against her broke with the social agreement of dialogue that had existed in the country.
For me, the most serious thing was to have broken a social agreement that existed since 1983. I feel that the recovery of democracy was not only that we can vote again and elect authorities. I understand that recovering democracy was to recover life and rationality that we can discuss in politics. Peronists, Alfonsinists, Renewer Peronists, Traditional Peronists, what democracy was since 1983, eradicating that violence.
The presidents of Russia and China, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, held a bilateral meeting within the framework of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Forum in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. China is ready to work with Russia to provide strong mutual support on issues related to their interests, according to the Chinese president. He also stated that China and Russia should expand pragmatic cooperation, safeguard the security and interests of the region, and preserve the common interests of developing countries and emerging market economies. For his part, Putin said he was convinced that by the end of the year they will achieve new record figures in terms of trade exchange, and in the near future, as agreed, they will bring the annual exchange of goods to $200 billion or more. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Iraq, the holy city of Karbala welcomes millions of Shiite Muslim worshippers ahead of the Arbaeen pilgrimage, one of the world's largest religious gatherings. Arbaeen marks the end of the 40-day mourning period after the murder of Imam Hussein back in the 7th century, who was the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad and was killed by the followers of the Yazid Caliph. Solidarity is an inherent part of the gatherings, so that along the pilgrimage routes, food, lodging, and other services are provided free of charge by volunteers. On the other hand, tents and special stands are set up along the way, among which you can find some that praise the Palestinian cause and denounce Israeli crimes.
This year, God bless, the numbers have increased. The visitors and the Iranians too. Last year, there were not so many people. This year, the attendance is much higher.
The 21st International Scientific Dentistry Conference kicked off in Damascus on Thursday, September 15th. The event is part of serious efforts to overcome the negative impact of 11 years of war on scientific development in various fields, including the health sector. Our correspondent, Hisham Wanus, has more.
The conference, which runs until the 17th of September, is attended by 7,000 local, Arab, and foreign dentists, researchers, scientists, and lecturers. The conference is a space for scientific exchange which, in addition to demonstrating that Syria is advancing at an accelerated pace in the post-war recovery process, serves to update Syrian doctors on the latest developments in the various branches of this field.
We expect to participate in all events that take place in Syria, such as this conference, and we do so in support of all Syrian brothers, whose country has already begun to recover from all the damage it suffered due to war, both in the health and other sectors. For us Palestinians, the participation in this conference is of great political importance, because it indicates that Syria has regained security, which is a matter of great joy for us, and we as Palestinian doctors have made great efforts to leave the occupied territories and participate in this conference.
As Syrian doctors, due to the sanctions, we cannot travel to attend the conferences and meetings necessary to develop our scientific level, which is why we consider the organization of this conference and exhibition in Syria to be of great importance, as it helps us to follow the course of global development in this field.
In addition to the conference, an exhibition of dental medical equipment was organized with the participation of 50 local companies specialized in dental treatment equipment, instruments and materials. These companies, despite the limitations caused by the European and US blockade, guarantee, with the support of allied and friendly countries, the necessary requirements to offer the best level of this medical service to the citizens of Syria.
We appreciate the organization of this exhibition in addition to the conference, as it helps us to know the latest developments in equipment, instruments and treatment materials, and contributes to maintain the outstanding scientific level of dental medicine in our country.
Despite the blockade imposed on the country, we managed, with the support of the government and friendly countries, to find ways and channels to acquire modern equipment and introduce them into the country at a reasonable pace that will help us keep up with the world development in this sector.
The Syrian health authorities, despite the difficulties arising from the war and Western restrictive measures, and despite the high cost of dental treatment, offered this service free of charge to citizens in 727 clinics distributed in the different medical centers in the country. The program, in addition to conferences and exhibitions such as these, includes other practical aspects aimed at improving and expanding the level of this medical service.
Hisham Wanus, TeleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.